Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. Today, we will be discussing the topic of the benefits of innovation in education. Our plan is to share with you how innovation can significantly change the classroom and therefore students' lives for the better. Although this is our topic, all of our research is based on a present-day educational system and practices compared to the past, and even considerations for the future. For this reason, we will be going over 5 major categories, which are number 1, historic background, number 2, present-day challenges for teachers, number 3, present-day challenges for students, number 4, examples of innovation and lack of, number 5, future considerations. Each category will be presented by a member of the group, so I am pleased to introduce you to team number 2. We have myself, Jecenia Gonzales, Kendra Cotton, McKyla Beasley, Nayvette Gonzalez, Fatima Ramirez-Hernandez. But first, before we begin, we wanted to take a moment to define what innovation means in a school context. And for this specific presentation, this is also the thesis of our group's project. So thesis, our innovation education is a well-balanced combination of new techniques and established practices. It is the process of identifying problems, learning from others, and developing new methods to address them. The goal of innovation in education is to make learning more effective, engaging, and individualized for students. At the same time, innovation is not, or at least should not be, the process of getting rid of traditional aspects altogether. Rather, it should be the idea of being open to new methods of innovation and combining them with those that have been useful in the past. Now, without further ado, please enjoy our presentation.
So we will first be going over the historic background, and I am Nayvette Gonzalez. Education in the past. Traditional learning is a predetermined schedule that includes fixed class times and durations. Students need to attend classes at a specific time, and the instructor delivers the material, which is something that's been used in the past for several years. This form of education focuses on structured lessons, in-person activities, and discussions. In the past, traditional learning involved for students to just memorize material. On this slide, we have types of traditional models. Rote learning, a teaching method that involves repeating information many times to help students memorize. This process is one of the oldest teaching methods used, and it's not very effective because teachers need to focus on developing a deeper understanding of effective because teachers need to focus on developing a deeper understanding other than just information being taught. Lecture-based instruction. This teaching method includes the teacher instructor to present material to students in a structured format. Teachers have a lecture while students listen and take notes. With this teaching method, I believe students are not actively engaged, and it's very limited for using critical thinking. On this slide, we have the barriers in education. Innovation in education is very important. The goal is to make learning more enjoyable, engaging, and effective for students. Although some traditional learning methods can help students in certain ways, it's important to have innovation in today's education. We have traditional learning methods face challenges and barriers in today's learning. Some of these barriers include limited flexibility. Fixed schedules may not always meet the needs for students. Lack of resources. There's not enough variety of resources to help students learn. Lack of engagement. Students do not feel like they can engage much in traditional learning. And here we have how innovation impacts learning. So we see that lecture on the left side, the lecture-based learning, and then we have some innovation where students can engage in the material being taught. How innovation impacts education. There are several ways innovation can be implemented along with traditional approaches to improve students' education. Encouraging collaborative learning, using technology with clear purpose, combining traditional and innovative approaches such as having digital resources instead of textbooks and having more hands-on activities, develop problem-solving skills, and encouraging creative thinking.
Hello, my name is Fatima Ramirez, and I will be presenting the present-day challenges for teachers. So what is standardized testing? So standardized testing refers to any form of testing that ultimately requires students to answer the same exact questions as well as being scored consistently. So this consists of the tests that we see, in high school, being the ACTs or the ACTs. While this part of our presentation is based on some teaching inefficiencies for teachers, I did want to go over some common ones for students. These tests are often tied to important outcomes, that being students have to take these tests in order to graduate, as well as depending on the scores that students do receive on these tests, depends on the school's funding. These tests also have high stakes, so ultimately will result in students developing some stress, and ultimately affecting their performance on these tests. These tests also fail to take into account those students who may learn and show academic proficiency in different ways, which ultimately I would say is an unfair and inaccurate way of measuring academic progress. Now, some teaching inefficiencies for teachers that would these tests do need to meet certain testing standards, which puts pressure on teachers to teach the test, which ultimately just means that instead of just branching out and being able to teach their students more broad curriculum, they are more focused on preparing their students on the material that is tested on these exams. This also creates some frustration among teachers about the time that it takes in order to prepare as well as administer these tests. So again, it takes away from their time in their classroom that they could be using in order to teach more broad curriculum that would hopefully help their students in the long run. Again, this also puts pressure on schools to improve their tests because, like mentioned before, the scores that come out of these tests do define the amount of funding that their school gets. Scores have commonly assumed to have strong correlation with effectiveness in teaching. So it puts an unfair blame on teachers that we see as good if their students' scores are low. And it also obscures any teaching deficiencies if those scores are high. Some teaching approaches that teachers may use. Teaching approaches are described as how teachers address and the process of how they will be teaching their students. Some examples of this will be direct instruction, which is more of a traditional approach. This is where the teacher usually uses a simple and straightforward language to communicate with their students, and it's also considered an instructor-centered approach. A game-based learning approach is more of a modern-day method that we see today, and that's just a method that uses games to define and support learning. This is achieved through educational games that promote elements like healthy competition and engagement with the material being taught. With that being said, I found some ineffective teaching methods that would not really be beneficial for the students in the long run to understand the material being given to them. Some of those being prepared notes. This is when teachers provide students with pre-written notes of the lecture. This is usually through just a handout or just a copy of the slides being shown. This does a disservice by making things easier for students and not fully engaging with the material. That's with them taking their notes by hand by themselves. Instead, it's best if teachers work on teaching note-taking skills and provide a variety of different options for note-taking methods, any methods that would work for their student. Another method would be whole class punishments. This is when teachers punish their entire class due to only a few students. Oftentimes, it does not solve any problem, but instead creates a new one. These are usually just when the class as a whole gets punished for only a few students, like if they're being off task or if they're just being rowdy as a whole. It is best to deal with disruptions as they come up, to deal with them quickly before they escalate or grow. Another teaching method that I found was popcorn reading. This is when teachers want their class to read a text, so they have each student take turns reading aloud. Oftentimes, students are chosen at random to create suspense or to keep them on their toes. This simply does not improve students' comprehension or reading skills. And also, I would say that it also embarrasses students whose maybe their read aloud skills are behind of that of their peers. But the way that this could be worked on is two different ways. When you're working with younger kids, it's best to read together and out loud. As with younger children, you want to help them learn to build that fluency when reading. And when you're working with older students, it's best to help them build on their reading skills when reading challenging texts. So it's best to just give them some time to read it at their own pace in order for them to comprehend what they are reading. Traditional and progressive approaches. Overall, teaching methods have evolved over the years from traditional methods to more progressive. When it comes to traditional methods, they are more focused on instructor-centered learning and structured learning, structured curriculum. Effectively teaches larger groups and prepares students for standardized testing. Those would be the ones that we had mentioned before, which would be the SATs or the ACTs, the ones we see in high school. And an example of this would be, again, a more direct instruction. When it comes to progressive methods, this focuses more on student-centered learning and flexible curriculum. This ultimately prompts creativity, critical thinking, as well as using different learning styles. And another example of that, again, would be the game-based learning.
My name is Jecenia Gonzales, and I will be going over category 3, present-day challenges, student achievement, Social mobility and socioeconomic disadvantages for students are the two topics that I will be discussing under this category. So what is social mobility in a school context? Social mobility refers to the ideal in which individuals can move up or down across time on the social ladder in terms of their socioeconomic status. Education is an important element to social mobility. In fact, it is a foundation that can bring about upward mobility for students, since it provides them with the necessary skills, knowledge, and opportunities to improve their socioeconomic standing. Innovation has been shaping social mobility in school in some positive ways. It has equalized access to education by implementing affirmative action policies such as scholarships and educational reforms. It has been equipping students in acquiring knowledge, skills, and competencies. It is empowering students to foster self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-worth, thus expanding students' perspective of themselves and the world around them. It has been fighting and breaking the cycle of poverty by offering low-income families financial help and scholarships so that students might have an equal opportunity in education. It has been introducing new technology to students to better equip them with digital skills for modern worlds. However, there are internal and external factors that limit social mobility. There is educational inequality. Not all students have the same quality of education. That is, children from low-income families often attend underfunded schools with fewer resources, less experienced teachers, and fewer opportunities for extracurricular activities. There's also wealth inequality. Low-income families cannot afford tutors or private schools in the same way their counterparts can. And finally, there's family support. Not all parents or family members hope students succeed in school in the same way or to the same extent as other families can. So this brings us to the socioeconomic disadvantages. Disadvantaged students suffer many challenges, but a significant one in education is the achievement gap between high and low income families. It must be remembered that poor school performance in lower income students perpetuates chronic poverty through higher dropout rates and impeded employment. So parents' level of understanding can actually play a vital role in students' achievement. According to Jem Trellis, a well-known educator, he's also an author, and he has been advocating for reading. He emphasized that poverty parents love their children as much as affluent parents do. The difference, though, is that some parents know and some don't know what's better for the child in order for them to achieve. Data does show that reading decline reaches back from the 1970s and this was before the onset of the digital age. And since then, students' reading has remained stagnant, that is very low. Only 37% of high school students score high enough on reading achievement test, and 80% cannot read well enough to do college work. However, reading, especially aloud, can improve the reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills, and it is also good for building background knowledge. So a home learning environment does matter. Again, Jim Trellis found that reading is the tool for closing achievement gaps between disadvantaged and privileged students, and ultimately declared that poverty children are not doomed to low achievement if the right things happen. The enabling factor is almost always a parent or a relative, someone close to the child in the early years who avoids the wrong things and does the right things at the right time. So creating a culture of innovation at home can happen, and there's three major ways that I found. The first one is to use a public library. This is a free and accessible resource. Students can read unlimited books. They can also be introduced to so many authors and to so many new ideas. At home, they can spend more time meaningfully and purposefully. By age 6, a child has been in school for 700 hours and outside of school for 52,000 hours. That means that parents have enough time to do things with the children. They can do activities together and engage in storytelling. They can also make family time sacred. Parents can role model good behavior and take on active role in their child's success.
My name is McKyla Beasley, and I'm going to give you some examples of innovation in schools. So first, I'm going to go over case studies, and I'm going to compare schools that have successful innovations and schools that do not have them. I'm going to be comparing public school innovations and private school innovations. Back when we had our student interview project, I decided to make the most of it and interview public versus private school students to see where they got a better academic success and had better innovations. Overall, private schools had better results with test scores, student success, overall grades, student involvement, and more. Some key points that I took from the interviews were with public schools, they're not as hands-on with the students, which with that, I'm meaning the students don't get as much one-on-one help. If a student is struggling in a subject or with an assignment, it's harder for them to get help with the teachers versus at private schools. The class sizes are smaller with 15 to 20 kids versus public schools where there's around 30 kids. So the teachers are able to help out more. In public schools, not every student has technology, and so many teachers use Canvas and things like that to give assignments and give help for homework and things like that. But at private schools, each student has a laptop, so they are able to have more resources with that. In public schools, teachers have too many responsibilities, and they don't have as much help versus at private schools, they do have more help, and public schools don't give enough extracurricular activities for the students that are as involved. So part of the successful innovations for the private schools is the smaller class sizes, the academic freedom, which means that the teachers can teach how they want. They just kind of have, this is what the kids have to know, and as long as they know this by the test, you're good. You can teach however you want. The faculty is a lot more dedicated because they don't have as much stress as public school teachers and faculty. Project-based learning, they do a lot of hands-on and project assignments, which make it a lot more enjoyable for the students, and then they do use technology. These are some test scores that I found. American Heritage is the private school, which is in red, and then Nevada Public Schools are in blue. As you can see, the test scores are completely different, and I just believe that this is because students in private schools have more hands-on in tutoring, and they are able to get more help with things if they're not understanding it. Next, I'm going to go over how technology is used and how it's been integrated into the schools. I strongly believe that technology has developed in so many different ways throughout the years, and that it has made an extreme difference in student lives and in the world alone. Some benefits of using technology in the classroom is you can enhance learning and teaching opportunities. With the teachers, they can do a Kahoot, for example, or they can put the kids in group projects, and one student can have a laptop and they can do a video presentation, things like that. Interactive and engaging learning, like I said, it can really help the students stay engaged, and there's so many more fun activities that the students can do. It can support teachers by, on Canvas, for example, all they have to do is make a test and it'll automatically grade it, which is extremely helpful for teachers who have large class sizes and don't have as much help grading. And it can build essential life and work skills because almost everything is on technology now. So if the students start using technology younger, then it better prepares them for the future. This is just kind of showing how far technology's come versus we used to not have anything at all. Things used to be on chalkboards, and now everything is online, and it's come a long way.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kendra Cotton, and I'll be going ahead and doing the future considerations. For the first talking point, I wanted to discuss how growth in personalized learning and interdisciplinary subjects. So obviously, we can break this up into two different categories, which is personalized learning and interdisciplinary subjects, with personalized learning being tailored educational experiences, which customizes education to individual needs, enhancing engagement and motivation. Technology integration, which uses adaptive tools and data analytics for real-time feedback and personalized resources. Student agency, which empowers learners to set goals and choose projects, fostering ownership of their education. And competency-based learning, which focuses on mastering skills rather than time, allowing students to progress at their own pace. With interdisciplinary subjects, we have real-world relevance, which integrates multiple disciplines, preparing students for complex problem solving. Collaborative learning, which encourages teamwork, enhancing communication and appreciation of diverse perspectives. Innovative curriculum design, which combines subjects to make learning engaging and contextually relevant. And skill development, which promotes critical thinking and creativity, equipping students for future challenges. The next talking point I wanted to discuss was importance of training and professional development and innovation. This is with embracing new methods. Training equips educators with innovative teaching strategies that enhance student engagement. Integrating technology. Professional development keeps teachers updated on educational technologies, enabling effective use of digital tools. Fostering innovative culture. Continuous learning encourages experimentation with new ideas, creating a dynamic and adaptable environment. Collaborative problem solving, which training promotes collaboration, allowing educators to share innovative practices and solutions. Encouraging critical thinking. Professional development focuses on methods that enhance critical thinking and creativity in students. Responding to change, ongoing training helps educators adapt and to reforms and shifting student needs, keeping practices relevant within the classroom. And enhancing leadership. Professional development empowers educators to lead innovative efforts within their schools. And the last point I wanted to discuss was incorporating students' voices in decision making, empowering student agency, which would be involving students in decision making, which fosters ownership of their education, increasing engagement and investment, enhancing relevance. Student input makes curricula and policies more relevant to their interests, leading to greater motivation and innovative outcomes. Encouraging diverse perspectives. Students' varied backgrounds provide valuable insights resulting in more inclusive and innovative solutions. Developing critical skills. Participation in decision making hones critical thinking and collaboration skills essential for innovation within the classroom. Fostering a collaborative culture. Including students in discussions creates a teamwork-oriented environment that sparks innovative ideas and discussions. Validating experiences. Acknowledging student voices builds trust and strengthens the school community, encouraging the share of innovative ideas. Informing policy and practice. Student feedback offers insights that guide relevant decisions, ensuring innovations meet actual needs. And lastly, creating leadership opportunities. Involvement in decision making cultivates future leaders who can advocate for change and contribute to innovative efforts. And lastly, I just want to say thank you. Innovation in education should not be something that is put on par with methodologies, but more as a well-balanced combination of new techniques and established practice. In adopting methods of innovation, educators underline challenges and at the same time work out solutions that will result in more effective, enjoyable, personalized learning experiences for students. The ultimate goal of educational innovation is improvement in student outcomes through more accessible and relevant learning in a dynamic world. In the future, let us continue being receptive to new ideas while valuing foundational strategies that have for so long supported student success. Again, thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful day.